Hello, everyone. Anne from the Easing Spirit here. I have decided that I'm struggling with my topic today, and I think it is oh my goodness, I have such a shiny spot on my head from the light above. I'm definitely going to have to get better lighting and a better camera and everything for my office now that I'm going to be making videos in here. However, I've been struggling a little bit today on what my topic would be. Um, I think maybe it's just being on a journey, period. Embracing the fact that there are going to be things in your life daily that are going to percolate ideas to the surface of the path that you should be on in your life, and maybe you're not necessarily embracing that. um, I had a situation probably about 16 years ago where I was in a relationship with somebody. This is actually my spiritual journey has been going on my whole entire life because things have happened to me where I've encountered ghosts. I've seen things move in my presence. I've seen things happen in my presence that I know cannot be of this earthly plane. I have had interaction with beings that have, or, people that have passed on and don't live here any longer. I've received messages, lots of things, but I always shut it down for the longest time. And a lot of that has to do with fear, right? Which I've shaken that fear a couple of years ago when I really started to embrace this. But I was in a relationship with somebody who had a drinking problem. And I never had any intention on marrying this person or spending the rest of my life with this person. To be completely honest, in a lot of ways, this person was a get out card for me. I had came, of course, out of my first marriage, and financially, I was working and bringing in money, but I wasn't hugely stable at the time. I had been a stay at home mom for a long time during my marriage. So I had to figure out again how I was going to take care of myself and my children, starting back over from ground zero, right? Which has happened to me a few times in my life. I have no problem with starting out at ground zero, especially when you fall down. If you get up and dust yourself off and you get stepping and you take care of yourself again and you go down that path that you should be going down, things get better. And so, in the relationship that I was in, when things started to get really heated up and this person was actively drinking again, never abusive to me or my children, to be completely honest, but super self destructive. And I just started asking myself, is this really something that I want to be a part of? Do I want to be a part of this in my life? How am I going to process this? And so that brought me to Al Anon, which is, of course, support for people who have relationships with someone who has alcohol dependency. And going through Al Anon, I started to understand more the connection with a higher power, or the divine, knowing that there is something larger than ourselves in this world. And I've always had a belief and faith in God and Jesus, indefinitely, but I think it broadened my mind because my belief system being Christian, I've been through so many religions, and I have a feeling today's topic is probably going to be all over the place. This probably just has everything to do with my spiritual journey as well as dabbling in religion, because when I was young, I have been to Pentecostal church. I have studied Mormon. I have done Catholic. I have studied Jehovah's Witness. I have been to Christian. I have been to Baptist. I have been to non-denominational, and the non-denominational part of it was part of the journey from the alcoholic person, alcohol alcoholic person I was in a relationship with. Um, so anyway, going through all of those religions, I always struggled and had a difficult time with accepting a religion and having one person up there who is going to tell you what's expected of you as a human so you can get into heaven when they are just as flawed as you are. They're just as human as you are. But we all come from the same divine spark. So, in understanding this now, which I've learned from my guides telling me, we're already forgiven at birth. We sign a contract to come here, to live this duality existence, to understand the difference between the light and the dark, the right and the wrong, the good and the bad. So we're forgiven for everything that we're going to go through and we're going to endure in this life, because all of that is already known. Even when we come down here, we already know. We just forget within this human existence after we're born because we don't nurture those things. We get shut down in life. Religion shuts you down. So you don't have a voice. The only voice that is acceptable in religion is the voice of God or your pastor, preacher, whoever's running your church. Gets to make that decision, right? And that's what you have to listen to. And even being in a non-denominational church, I still struggled because I felt that there was the same pastor up there every single week telling me what I should be getting from what I read out of the Bible. And the Bible, that's another topic for another day. The Bible, in all honesty is full of so much BS, and it's man putting their opinions and their ego inside of that book. Now, there are truths in there. There are absolute truths. And my belief is when you ask your higher power and you ask the Creator to show you what you need to know from the Bible, and you open it, what you see and what you read right then and there, what you're directed to, and the message that you get from that is what you need to know at that time. So reading the Bible from the beginning to the end and understanding what all the books are and what all the chapters are and all the things in there and what they mean, everything that's in there is going to mean something different to each person, because it's what your path is requiring you to know, not what the book itself is giving you, or what your pastor from your church is telling you you're supposed to take it as when you read the book or listen to it or hear things from it. So in that relationship, I started going to Al-Anon, and I started taking myself to church. Every Sunday I was going to a non-denominational church, and I started to process that you absolutely can live with somebody who is actively addicted when you're in that situation at that time and still live your authentic life. And of course, I knew that I wasn't going to be with this person for the rest of my life. I knew that I was not going to be committed to them. I knew that I wasn't going to marry this person. And I knew that it was just a matter of time before our relationship was going to come to an end. And so it was me being able to live and exist within the situation that I had found myself in until I could change that. And when I changed that, I was on a journey for myself, understanding that what my worth was, that I could be balanced and in a good place. And that's when after leaving this person, I ended up meeting my second husband. And to tell you the honest to God truth, relationship-wise, I had no business at that time getting into a relationship. I wasn't even ready for it. I thought I was, but I absolutely wasn't. And it went fast, like my first marriage did. A little bit slower, not quite as fast, but fast nonetheless. And I went ahead and threw myself in, 1,000%. you tend to give in the beginning before anybody actually earns it. I don't think I really realized that until I began to examine the fact that I absolutely do give before you earn. And I'm not saying earning has got to be a long drawn out process by any means, but you have to visually see the red flags in front of you and not give so much of yourself and get so deeply invested before you understand the idiosyncrasies and the traumas and the difficulties of the other person. Now, I don't have any disagreements with people who, can't be with just one partner. I don't have any problems with people who are married and have open marriages. I don't have any problems with somebody who wants to go out and get high or, I'm 420 friendly, but other people want more than that, right? I drink occasionally. I have my times where I drink. I only do it socially and it's from time to time. But, to each their own on everything. The way I see it is what is going to connect and mesh with you? What is going to be for your greater good, and being with somebody who vibrates at the same level you do or higher. You don't ever want to be lower. I mean, I don't say look at people who have a lower vibration than you as below you. Absolutely not. We want to help those people. Those are the people that I want to be able to reach out and help, so that I can bring them into their power and help them learn how they can get themselves at a higher vibration. However, I'm not going to put my intimate energy and connect it to somebody who vibrates lower than me. I need you to be equal or higher, because higher is going to make me ascend too, right? Because that is the path that I'm on. And granted, sometimes we might meet people whose vibrations are lower than ours, and we give them that grace and we help them in their journey, and they begin to vibrate as high as we do, and maybe even higher. And then that's when you come into an alignment and those things happen organically. It's not manipulated. You're not out looking for somebody. It's just trusting the process and allowing everything to come into place. And so I started to lose that portion of myself that I had began to build up and was getting in a very healthy place with. When I met my second husband, I started to feel like, oh, I was there to save him. Oh, I was the martyr. Oh, I'm so important, I'm gonna save this person from himself. He had a lot of struggles. But really, in all due respect, it wasn't up to me to save him from who he was. And what I did to him was even worse. I gave him the idea that through the years of us being together, the things that went on, the untruths, the infidelities, all of that was acceptable. And so I ingrained into him that it was acceptable for him to be that way, because there was never consequences for that stuff. So it just kept happening. And then it finally came to the boiling point, right? And he wasn't being his authentic self, and I wasn't being my authentic self. And we were hurting each other, and it was just the relationship had to come to an end. And in that process was when I came into my spiritual journey, the second leg of it, and it really started to take off. Because, as I've said in a previous video, if you're going through life and you're not on the path that you're supposed to be on, and your higher self and your guides keep trying to give you direction, and they're going to do it in a love and light sort of way, right? Because that's innately where we come from, is love and light. That's why we come here, to understand duality, because darkness doesn't live there. Darkness lives here. It's what we create as humans. That's where that darkness comes from. Everything that's dark and bad here is man creation. It's us putting out that energy, thinking that negativity into existence. Another thing that I've said in a past video, and you'll probably hear me say it a million times, is your intention is everything. There's nothing else that matters outside of your intention. So if your intention is to give love and light, darkness cannot come from that. And, you know, so me embracing my second leg of my spiritual journey and really realizing that I had started it years ago and fell off the path. I was given a what you want to call a spiritual 2x4. It's like your guides and your higher self say, okay, you know, we've tried lots of times to give you the signs that you're intuitive, that you know what's going on, that there's a path in your life that you need to be following. You're just not doing it. So now we're going to bring in a little bit of that darkness, and that darkness is it's going to smack you straight, right? And you're going to be like, whoa, okay, I get what's going on. Now I see where I've tripped up in this path. And that's what happened. You know, it was there was trickles of things through our marriage, you know, but everything stuff just started happening and piling on top of each other. And it just got really, really crazy. And it got to where it was like, okay, whoa, something needs to change here. And that was when I abruptly asked for a separation. And at first I thought that we would separate and work on ourselves. My thing was 100% work on yourself. Don't worry about what I'm doing. I'm not going to worry about what you're doing. Work on ourselves. And when we start to feel like we're coming into alignment and we can feel that shift and that change in ourselves, then we can start talking about what it looks like to bring us back together. Because as broken as we were as individuals, there was nothing that we could have done that was going to bring us back together until we were individually on the right path. And I felt like I was getting on the right path, but there were hiccups along the way where my now husband would feel he would almost start grabbing in a aggressive way. Not aggressive bad that he was hurting me physically, but I could feel his energy even when he would think about me and he wasn't around. And he would start getting in his head, and instead of focusing on the things he should to correct himself and get himself balanced, he was worried about what I was doing. And I wasn't helping. It wasn't helping him in any way. And it was not going to bring us together. Absolutely not. And so it just, and I kept seeing a cycle where things would get good and it would go good, right? And then he would get in his head and then things would go awry again. And I kept feeling, I was getting upset about it because I was like, why is this happening to me, right? And that was a big shift in my spiritual journey, because then I started realizing, wait a second. The only things that are happening to me are the things I'm allowing to happen to me. That was a huge shift within my mindset, because my viewing lens of this world began to change. And I absolutely started to understand, again, as I'm going to say, that intention is everything. And instead of worrying and thinking to myself, when's the next shoe going to drop? You know, when's it going to flip out again? How's this going to be? I stopped looking at it like that, and I started looking at it as a manifestation, in a sense that I had an expectation that things were going to go smoother. But I also knew ultimately that where we were, our marriage was done. And I called it and I said, I want a divorce. And it was rocky for a little bit. And then we began to talk slowly but surely. We had conversations about different things. We said apologies to each other. Um, I had already started healing, things that I felt like were done to me. Because going back to that is that if it was done to me, it was because I allowed it. If something is not going right in your life, it is absolutely up to you to remove that and make it different. And there's no way around it. I don't care what situation you're in. And some of these things that I say in these videos might be triggering. I've been there in the relationship with the person who is physically abusive. That was years ago with my second son's dad. I've been in chemical and alcohol dependent relationships, codependent relationships. I've been in any of those situations, whether you're being abused physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually, as long as you stay within that, then you're allowing that to happen. The only person that can make any change in your life is you. Nobody else. When it comes to who's going to be there to care for you and take care of you and make sure your health is right and make sure you're balanced and all of those things, is you. That when you realize that and you start looking inside for your answers instead of looking outside and trying to project out and trying to point blame and trying to act like life is doing things to you, once you begin to look inside, your brain begins to work differently. And you start to see the patterns of understanding. You start seeing the good of things that come to you. You start realizing that happiness, and this is one of the things at our church, one of the things that we read every week during church is that we are responsible in this life for our own happiness and unhappiness. As we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. If you can embrace that in your mind and look at that and see that and begin to do the work internally and look inside yourself, why did I allow this? Why was I letting this happen? Not why did he do that to me? You will start to rewrite yourself and you will see life differently. You will see that you are worth it, that it's not selfish. Self-care is of utmost importance. If you care for yourself, I can tell you this. Everybody's like, well, I can't do that. I got kids, and I got a husband, and I got to do this, and I got to give to my job, and I go, whoa. I had a friend of mine, granted, we weren't like friends in the sense that we kicked it outside of our work existence, but she was a supervisor for me at the job, and one of the most kind-hearted people I've ever met. And she gave a lot of herself to her life and her job to the point that at a very young age, she had a heart attack and passed away. I mean, that weekend was a crazy weekend for me because we had lost my stepson from my first marriage, the oldest boy from my first husband. He died of heart failure at 31 years old, way too young for that craziness, right? But of course, that was him not taking care of himself through his life. And the weekend that we buried him and did his life service or memorial, whatever you want to call it, that Saturday, later on that Saturday evening into Sunday morning, my supervisor died of a massive heart attack, and she was younger than me. And this was, I don't know, like 3 years ago or so, 2.5, 3 years ago. And the one thing that I've seen is that when we give and 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 we tap out and we use the well and we are then still sucking from, you're driving that car and it's on empty and it's got some fumes, but you don't know how long the fumes are going to last before the car just pisses out on you and says, I'm not driving any farther because I don't have any gas. That's exactly what we do to ourselves in this life. And it's crazy insane. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Taking care of yourself is not a selfish thing, because I can tell you this hands down, and I've seen it now. I understand it now because I'm living it now. I'm embracing it now. That now that I take care of myself and I look at my needs spiritually and emotionally first, I'm able to give to everybody else because I'm not tapped out. So look at it this way. When you give without caring for yourself, you're actually stealing from your own family. You're stealing a part of you from them. You feel like you're giving it to them, but you're not really. You're not 100%. And when you're not 100% and you're not giving 100%, if you are all about your family, you're stealing from them. You're stealing that time that they might even have with you later because you're not caring for yourself, so you won't be here long enough. Looking at it that way explains to you the importance of self-care. You cannot give to others or quench the thirst of others when your glass is empty. If your glass is overflowing, then you have everything to give and you can quench the thirst of everybody else around you, including yourself. But when your glass is running on a little tiny thin layer of water in the bottom, you don't have anything to give to anybody else. That right there should be a wake up out of this whole talk here. Because it was a huge wake up for me. And so this spiritual journey has brought me to a place where it's like today I went out to my best friend and business partner's property, and I moved some dark energy from her property and was reading and understanding things that are going on within her on her own journey. And the stuff that is around the property where she lives. Because, unfortunately, this earth has been here for so long, the ground that even our homes sit on has seen things that we can't even imagine. And that energy stays in those places. And so when enough bad things have happened in places, it piles up on top, layer upon layer upon layer. And it's a process. I mean, this is the second time that I've went out there, and I will continue to go out there. And my brother's been out there, and other friends of hers have been out there, and we've been reading and assessing everything that's going on out there and moving stuff on piece by piece. But just on the drive out there to her house today, it was amazing because it was raining outside. And for the longest time I used to talk about, I can't stand being in Washington. I was born in the wrong state. I got to be where it's sunny. I got to be where it's warm, blah, blah, blah. And in embracing my spiritual path has also made the lens of the way I see the world around me different. Accepting. I see the beauty in the rain. I see the beauty in the clouds outside. And it does not hold back the excitement that I feel inside of me for the journey that I'm on right now. It's changing me on a cellular level every single day. And when I look back, I'll look back and be like, the person I was last week is nowhere near who I am now. Because the funny thing is, last week, I wouldn't be doing this. I started taking it's like this Facebook course, if you will, by these two men who actually have YouTube channels of their own, Aaron and Vic. and they own a business called FTP, Full Time Purpose. And they are teaching us right now. They're doing this on a large scale. And so basically, we got into like a beta. We got super lucky. Me, my best friend, and all these other thousands of people, we got super lucky because these guys said, okay, we want to test out doing this for thousands at a time, not just a group of a few people or one-on-ones, but thousands. And we don't just want it to be, like here in the United States. We want this to be global. So they put it out on Facebook that you could sign up to be a part of Full Time Purpose, which teaches you how to build your business, but it's all free. We get webinars. The first week we had 4. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. This week we have 3. Next week I think we have 3 or 4. They give us homework to do. They'll bring on and do hot seat coaching while we're on the webinars. And all of this information that we've received from these 2 gentlemen. And I'm looking forward to next week because I do believe, I want to say the girl's name is Melissa. I'm not 100% off the top of my head right now, but she's going to teach us how to manifest abundance, because that's what she did. She went from nothing just a few years ago to making 7 figures a year. But she also teaches you how to have a relationship with money that's positive and not negative. There's just so many things that I've learned in the last 2 weeks that have changed me on a cellular level, where I'm doing things now I never would have had. I felt like I wouldn't have had the guts to do. But I'm embracing it now because, sure, I'm going to look back on these videos and I'm probably going to be like, oh, that's cringeworthy. And it's okay because we all start somewhere, right? But doing it and embracing it and just saying, I'm not worried about what people think. I'm going to put it out there because I'm going to tell you right now, even if it's one person that listens to what I have to say here and gets something out of it that's for their greater good, and it makes a change for them, then I've done my job. And that's all that matters to me. So that being said, I thank you very much for listening. I have a Facebook page that is The Easing Spirit. It is a public page, so you can definitely go on there and like and follow my page. You can also subscribe below and like on my videos here so that, I can see how many followers I have. Although in time, my followers isn't really what I'm focused on. It's more what I can start giving to other people, which I eventually, I do tarot. Actually, I do oracle readings. I do Reiki healings. I do energy work. My energy work is, I can do it on people. I am perfectly capable. But I more like to think global and think within the space that you live, moving energy or your place of business or healing your business name. Putting healing into the places that we exist in, because you can move energy from your body, but it's got to go somewhere. And the one thing that I've learned is that over years where a lot of mistakes are made is dark energy is moved on, but it's not transmuted. It's just moved on. So basically it's like you're out with the blower and you're blowing off your property, but you're blowing all your stuff onto your neighbor's property. And now your neighbor's got to deal with it. It's the same when you move energy out of your home, out of your property, out of your space. So what I've learned to do, which I've been getting better and better all the time with it, is encapsulating that darkness and light, transmuting that energy from a dark to a light, and putting it back into the earth, giving it back to Mother Earth so she can be healed from what I'm doing and not harmed further, right? And I know that Mother Earth has a way of shifting energy on her own, but I will tell you that there is a lot of darkness within this world, and there is more darkness being created every day. And that's why the earth begins to have periods where she tries to right herself. And we get things like major sicknesses that wipe out lots of people, or we get craziness like this year is all about change for people who aren't even on a spiritual journey. And that's the sad part, is change is going to come whether they like it or not. Now, most people are going to fight it. They're not going to see that it's for their greater good. They're going to fight it. It's going to be a very difficult thing. They're going to be getting 2x4s left and right, and they're still not going to get it because they live outside of understanding what a spiritual existence is like. So I feel like the more that we, as holistic healers and spiritual energy workers, the more that we put our voice out there and we give the information to people of what we're being told from our higher selves and from Creator, the more we can heal this earth. We absolutely can do it. But we've got to do it one situation at a time, one person at a time. And I think what's absolutely beautiful is when we have meditations with Aaron and Vic on the calls, the energy that you can feel from thousands of people who are meditating that same exact thing at that same exact time is unbelievable. I mean, it makes you vibrate on the inside. You can feel that. Even though you're not within their space, we are all putting out that same energy on those meditations together. And it just comes together in a ball of massive light. And it's absolutely amazing. And so, those are just a few of the things that I want to get into, being able to give my time to people, do Reiki healing sessions, give oracle readings, clear energies from properties, as well as being a spiritual minister too. I'm an ordained minister, so I do marriages and weddings and stuff like that. But, if you're interested in any of those things, you can either, go to my Facebook page, The Easing Spirit, and, comment on there, or even send me a message in Messenger. Or you could even comment on any one of my videos here, telling me what you're interested in or whatever. And my email is attached to this account. I do believe it's visible. So you can email me as well if you want to, too. So just to put that out there, I thank everybody for listening today, and I leave you in love and light. Namaste.